Pearl Burris-Floyd, and this is Franklin Boulevard Media. I'm a native of Dallas, North Carolina, so I grew up right here in Gaston County. I attended public schools, so I'm a product of the Gaston County school system. When I started school, I spent 4 years in a segregated school at C.F. Jingles Elementary School in Dallas, and moved on to Carr Elementary School, which was in my neighborhood because I grew up on Pine Street, and Carr Elementary School is on Pine Street. But because of segregation, I could not walk right up the street and go to school until I was in the 5th grade. And from there, I went on to what used to be Dallas High School, and through the 8th grade, and then went on to North Gaston Senior High School, and was the first class that started in the 10th grade and went on through the 12th grade. And from there, I attended the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, where I received a degree in biology and a minor in chemistry, and moved back into Gaston County in the early 90s, and I've been here ever since. I grew up in a community and a church that sought to make sure that those of us who were smart and were capable, that they supported us. So we had a very diverse church congregation. We had doctors, lawyers, teachers. We had individuals who were brick masons and carpenters, and they all came together at First Baptist Church in Dallas and worked together to make sure that not only the children knew what to do and how to do it, but the adults as well. And they were mentors. So I had many, many mentors starting from my earliest memories, and they supported me all of my life, and that continues on until today. Well, you know, I'm a country girl from Dallas, North Carolina. My uncles were farmers, so there were things that occurred at North Gaston that didn't occur in the city of Gastonia. We had farm day. We could bring our tractors to school and ride around the circle. So I was right there with them because my uncles had tractors. I did not ride the mule out there. The mule was too mean and stubborn, so I didn't do that. But I did find myself thrown into leadership at an early age, and had a wonderful time in high school. I was an athlete. I played every sport that girls had back then. My favorite sport was softball and basketball, and I lettered in everything, and became very active in student government. And that was the beginning of thinking about how to serve people in all over the county. And we had a Black History Club where we talked about the things that we didn't have in the history books and why our history as African Americans led us to a point where we had a better understanding of what we could do and what we should be doing. So it started at North Gaston and through my church. I always wanted to go to Carolina, but I wanted to also go to A&T State University because that's where my father went to school. But they didn't have the money to offer me a scholarship, and Carolina did. And there were still 3 other brothers behind me. And so the more prudent thing to do was to not have to pay for your education, to use your brain to excel. And so I was able to do that. And by the time I finished UNC Chapel Hill, I had been selected to be a postgraduate fellow and went to Germany and did research there and looking at the effects of irradiation on cancer cells, which set me up to go to the UNC Medical School in their cytology program. And I spent 36 years of my life running laboratories and making cancer diagnoses. So it really prepared me for the future. 36 years. I worked in laboratories. I actually ran laboratories, helped develop and build laboratories. So I had an awesome career in the allied health profession. I came home in 91 and got an opportunity to work in Charlotte at Mercy Hospital and stayed there for almost 9 years. And then prior to that, I worked at Duke University Medical Center and was there for 10 years. And it was an awesome place to work. I often got teased because, Duke Blue and Carolina Blue, they're always at loggerheads, and we won this year, so thank you. I was very excited about that and to have that opportunity to just, cheer on the Tar Heels. But it was, and with all that aside, it was a phenomenal place to work because all of the cutting edge research was being done at tertiary care centers like UNC hospitals and Duke University Medical Center. And to have 10 years to spend there learning and writing and researching, it set my career on a beautiful course to really do some things that were sort of not really done in smaller places. But it prepared me to come in and to talk about those things and to set up programs to teach in the cytology schools across the state and to eventually become the state president for the North Carolina cytology education services. So I did that as well. Everything has a course. And when I came home, my course was working with the PTA. I was PTA president at Carr Elementary School. My daughter started at Carr in kindergarten. And so I was very interested in making sure that the school had things that they didn't have. So during my tenure as the PTA president, we air conditioned the schools and we put in computers. We had our first computer lab. And we had to sell a lot of candy, wrapping paper, and whatever else we needed to do in order to make it work. But Dallas is a small community, but we're a very close-knit community in a lot of ways. And so we all just came together and made it happen for Carr Elementary School. That put me in the spotlight and having the opportunity to go to different functions and talk to parents. I was also very active with the students, reading to them, telling them stories, and even some of my daughter's classmates who are still around here, they'll see me and talk about, I remember when you used to come to our class and read to us. And I think that if I had to go into a different career, it probably would have been acting, because I love to just put myself into the characters that I read about. And the students really loved that. And later on, that helped me when they were grown and I ran for public office. Those same young people came and volunteered for my campaign and helped me out and voted for me. So that was really exciting. 2008 was the House race, but I became a county commissioner first in 2001. Mm-hmm. I have to go back to 2000. There was a county commissioner named Gene Kimbrough. And Gene Kimbrough was a very fascinating man. He marched to the beat of a different drummer, but I knew him as my mailman. He was the mailman. He would come by and talk to us. And on Saturdays when my dad wasn't working, they would sit on the front porch and share stories about being stationed in Korea during the Korean War. And my mom would serve him iced tea. And he also took my wedding portraits because he was a photographer as well. And so it was, you never know why people are in your life. But he became ill and had to resign from the Board of Commissioners, and he told the commission that he would like to see me take his seat. That was unbeknownst to me. So the chair of the Republican Party came to meet me. But he did his homework before then, and he was walking around in Dallas and talking to people, and he said it seemed like everyone knew me, and they wanted me to represent them as their commissioner. And so that's what happened. I became part of the Gaston County Republican Party in December of 2000. And then went on to become a part of the Republican Party and understanding what work they were doing in Gaston County and why the entire Board of Commissioners had been Republican. Many people said it would never happen, but I believe that God knows all. And he knows our beginning and our ending and everything in between. So my trust was placed there, that God wouldn't call me to this if he wasn't going to bring me through it. So that was how it started. And of course, when a person from a certain party resigns, or maybe they pass away, or they decide to run for a higher office and they win, then the party that particular elected official is from gets to choose the replacement. So there were about 7 men and myself running for that appointment, and I won on the first ballot. So that was very exciting. It was a time when Black people and white people and other people came together because they knew that this was history. And so I was appointed, and then in 2002 I ran for my first race and won, and was the top vote getter from out of the whole county for that particular race. So it was exciting. I had individuals come to my rescue and give me advice because I had never held a public office before. And so I talked to those individuals who were already in office, Walker Reed, Jennifer Davis, and others who had been elected and served either on the school board or in one of the municipalities. And they gave me wonderful advice and really mentored me through the process. Many people who had been registered Democrat changed their party affiliation just to vote for me and to make history happen. So I was standing on the shoulders of people who had done it, and they supported me. And even those that didn't, they wanted to come and see. After I won the election, they wanted to come and see how this happened, and how did she win, and take pictures with me and all of that. So it was a very exciting time. And from that, we were able to build a coalition of people who supported me. And I ran again and won. And after that, had an opportunity to run for the State House in 2008 and won. And that was the year that President Obama won. So there was a lot of excitement and with the Democrat Party. And so it was people were saying, well, you probably won't win this time. But God said, yes, you will. And I did. So I served one term in the House, and that was enough to make history yet again. And as the only African American elected from Gaston County to serve in the legislature. So it was very exciting, and I learned a lot about loving people. You don't have to know a person all your life to love them. You just have to keep an open heart and an open mind. And I had individuals to pour into me that I never even thought about meeting. One of them was President George Bush, George W. And he invited me to come to the White House and have lunch. I was one of 40 African American leaders across the country that had been invited. And I ended up sitting at his table and sitting beside Condoleezza Rice. And when I say that you can never imagine what you can do until you're actually in the moment. And I knew that God had really taken me from being this little country girl from Dallas to someone who had articles written about her all over the country because of actually what was happening in North Carolina. So I'm very thankful for that, and to still have the opportunity to lead and to be respected in everything that I'm doing now. It's very humbling because you grow up, hey, how you doing? It's good to see you. That's James and Ola Mae's only daughter, But then it becomes, that's that woman that won that election. Oh my goodness, that's that woman that's we watch her on the camera. I know her. I grew up with her. It was so humbling because even your frenemies started saying, I'm so proud of you, and the whole idea of, making your enemies your footstools comes back to you from your Bible study. And by the way, I'm also a Baptist preacher. And so I'm so glad that my parents taught me to, live by the golden rule. And kindness goes a long way. You don't have to know everything. But if you're kind and you're humble, people will want to come to your aid. They don't really respect people with arrogance and those who believe that they know everything about every subject. So I learned to walk in humility at an early age, and pinch myself every time I was in a situation where I would ask, is this really happening? And yes, it's really happening. In terms of what I'm doing in Gaston County, I'm the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer for Gaston County government. And I get an opportunity to interact with people. One of the things that I'm really proud of is being able to hold others, the confidence of others. They come to me and they tell me about what's going wrong. And it's a position that's not one that's an activist position. I'm there to look at what's going on with employees, with policies and procedures, to make sure that all of the employees, over 1,800 employees, have the opportunity to achieve their goals and to not be marginalized or discriminated against or placed in a situation where they cannot achieve the highest level of what they want to do. And that's a huge task. But it was our county manager had that in her mind and offered me the position 2 years ago to come in. She had done her homework, and she said everyone that she talked to had respect for me, and that she thought that if it could be done, she would like to see me do it. And that was also very humbling because she's coming in, she's a new county manager. She is the first woman to be the county manager in Gaston County, so a lot was riding on her ideas and what she thought would be the best direction for the county to move toward. And I was part of that. And here we are 2 years, almost 2 years later. It'll be 2 years in August. And we've made great strides in having a diversified look to every aspect of county government. There are now, it's not just black and white. We have, Asian Americans and Latinx Americans all coming together to make this diversity, equity, and inclusion process work. And is it perfect? No. There are no perfect systems and no perfect processes. And we're early in developing what works right for Gaston County. And we're continuing to move forward with that. We have a multicultural affairs committee, and that's made up of people from different levels of leadership, individuals who are staff employees, all the way up to individuals who are in the county manager's office, all working together to try to make sure that we are the employer of choice, and that anything that isn't right, we're going to address it. We're going to meet it head on. One of the things that we worked on last year was working to get Juneteenth recognized by the county, and that was achieved. And all of the groups that had been working to make that happen came together. And it was a beautiful process, and Tasha and her organization worked with that. Some of the other groups joined with her, and we all came together. So Gaston County government was a big participant in the Juneteenth celebration last year, and we will be doing that again this year. The same with our Latinx population. We got a resolution passed for that as well. And so we're moving ahead. We're looking at people now as people, and we're through this journey known as diversity, equity, and inclusion. We're helping people understand that this is not about making you do anything. It's about showing you some of the problems that exist. And if it applies to you that you're doing things that will hurt people, marginalize people, prevent people from being the best that they could be, then the individual has to have a heart change in order to see what they're doing and how they're mistreating people. And we've seen some of that really happen right before our eyes. So it's very encouraging to see that and to know that we're moving in the right direction. I think that the sky's the limit. For so long, Gaston County hasn't thrived like the other communities surrounding Charlotte. And so now that we're the last frontier that hasn't been fully developed, we have an edge, and we need to take advantage of that. We now have the whole Fuse project, and having the energy coming in to have a ball team, a baseball team that's owned by a minority person, to actually have business leaders who want to move their businesses here, move their headquarters here, to have the Apple Creek Business Park in Dallas, having their grand opening in a couple of days, and to know that in Gaston County, you still have an opportunity to build your business. You're a perfect example. You know, you've started your business, and let me just applaud you right now, because what you're doing is what so many young people say that they want to do. And now there are individuals who own restaurants, they own media businesses. They are now getting an opportunity to consider getting bids from the county through the MWBE program. And that means that they can compete to get contracts for county business. And whatever percentage that they're going to get, it might be a $300,000 project. What small business owner wouldn't want a $300,000 project? You know, it's changing the landscape of businesses and economic development in Gaston County. And I'm excited to see that. We look at our roads, we look at individuals who want to move here, not because of, some type of problem, but they actually want to come here. They want to bring their families. They want to bring their employees. And so we know that all of the development that's going on the housing developments, it's going to be a really great time in Gaston County. So if you want it, it's here for you. We can no longer say we're this little small county, because we're in the top 10 of the 100 counties in North Carolina, and we're moving forward. So I can't wait to see what we're going to look like in 10 years. I'd just like to add that I grew up here in Gaston County. I have lived away, traveled abroad, studied abroad, but there's no place like home. And I wanted to make sure that after working in so many different locations around the state, that I would come home and have enough energy to pour back into Gaston County and to allow part of my legacy to be that I came home and I helped people. And I hope that will be something that will continue forward even after I retire and not be in the limelight, so to speak, that somebody else will be standing on my shoulders. One of the things that I'm proud of is that, I mentioned earlier that I grew up surrounded by professional people and people who had trade skills, and I wanted to live in a community where the young people could see that in me. So I didn't want to leave Dallas. I live on the east side of town now after growing up on the west side of town. And when I was running for office, those little ones had grown up and they were parents themselves. And when they came to the polls, people assumed that they were coming there to vote for the Democrat. But it felt so good to see those young people say, "Miss Pearl, I got you. I got you." I'm telling the other candidate, "I don't need your information. We're going to vote for Miss Pearl." And you only get that when you live in a community and people trust you and they believe that you're authentic and you're genuine and you're not fake. So I'm that person that's sincere, genuine, and not fake. And I'll be that way as long as I have breath in my body.